Live from New Delhi, watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next hour. Indian Embassy in Iran issues fresh travel advisory, urges Indian nationals to carefully look at evolving situation before undertaking non-essential travel to Tehran. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan lavishes praise on Made in India drones, says success of Operation Sindoor a testimony of self-reliance in defence. After his 50 days deadline to Russia, Trump says weapons being sent to Ukraine, but warns Kyiv should not target Moscow. Trump's tariff impact visible in US as data reveals consumer price index increased 0.3% last month after edging up 0.1% in May. India's Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan has praised the performance of Made in India drones and counter-drone systems of the military in Operation Sindoor. Speaking at a workshop and exhibition on indigenously designed UAVs and CUAS New Delhi, CDS General Chauhan underlined the success of Operation Sindoor as a testimony of Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliance in defence. General Chauhan also stressed on the need for boosting innovation and startups in sector.
You cannot win with yesterday's weapon systems in today's warfare. In fact, today's warfare has to be fought with tomorrow's technology. Operation Sindoor has showed us as to why indigenously developed counter-US systems and counter-US systems built for our terrain and our needs are crucial. We cannot rely on imported niche technology that are crucial for our offensive and defensive missions. We must invent and build and safeguard ourselves. Dependence on foreign technologies weakens our preparedness, limits our ability to scale up production, results in shortfall of critical spares for sustenance and round-the-clock availability. Another important aspect of this capability is that foreign weapons and sensors, their capabilities are known to all, and adversaries can predict our tactics and doctrinal concepts based on the capabilities of this particular system. If you are developing systems which you own, their capabilities are not known to the enemy, and that way add an element of surprise when actually you're face-to-face in the initial encounters at least.
And DD India's Nandita Dagar joins us on this story. Hi Nandita, a very good afternoon to you. CDS General Anil Chauhan heaped praise on Made in India drones and also counter-drone systems. Also said that success of Operation Sindoor a testimony of self-reliance or Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense. Now Nandita, I want to ask you what makes them special and how the technology in defense, Nandita, in India has flourished over the years.
Yes, this is a very, very foresightful decision that Prime Minister Modi took in 2014, the year when he took over as India's Prime Minister for the first time. He gave a call for Make in India or Atmanirbharta. Self-reliance in Hindi is called Atmanirbharta. Yeah. And that is what the Chief of Defence Staff, General Chauhan, is saying today. And he said that homegrown, that is designed, developed, manufactured in Indian UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as counter UAV systems have proven their worth in Operation Sindoor, and therefore Operation Sindoor is a testament of India's capability in not just indigenously manufacturing and designing these weapons of the future, or that is of futuristic warfare, but also how well they have performed. Just see, Siddharth, that our loitering munitions, also known as suicide drones or kamikaze drones, known as Harop. It is known that it destroyed the HQ-9 air defense system, which is of Chinese origin, in Lahore in this Operation Sindoor. So it is a very capable system. And then, apart from the drones that we have in use currently being developed by the DRDO, already developed by the DRDO, our Indian industry, powered and fueled by young innovators, startups, because it is poised to be a $11 billion industry in India by 2030. That is the drone industry, and this involves not just the public sector but also private manufacturers. Alpha Technologies in Bangalore is the one which has built Sky Striker, which was used in this Operation Sindoor against Pakistani targets. And you know how the landscape is, Siddharth, because the current warfare that we are seeing for the past 5 to 6 years, the battles that are raging, the wars that are raging across the globe, they are not using conventional means. They are using loitering munitions, swarm drones, AI-powered, drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, or first-person view drones, etc. As far as India is concerned, we gave a push to our design and development through several measures. Prime Minister Modi and our Defense Ministry, Prime Minister Modi took a personal interest in the fact of the negative import list, which the Indian defense industry, or we Indians, call the positive indigenization list, wherein in 2021 we banned the import of certain critical components required for the manufacture of drones. That is, we cannot import them from China, we cannot import them from anywhere, we have to build our own. And secondly, there is a production-linked incentive scheme worth 120 crore rupees, where our Ministry of Civil Aviation, which has formed a Drone Federation of India, consisting of about 550 drone startups. And this is a very vibrant field where young and engineering graduates, IITians, etc. are involved in this, and they are being given these funds to design these cutting-edge technologies. So you can just imagine what kind of a push. Apart from that, the Indian government, of course, is collaborating with the Americans, the Israelis, to build manufacture drones. For example, Harops, they are being built in India, made in India, and they've given a stellar performance as far as this Operation Sindoor is concerned, carrying out very targeted, precise, effective, devastating strikes on Pakistani targets.
Definitely, Nandita, I can imagine that the defense technology has flourished over the years. But Nandita, can you just explain to our viewers, you just mentioned about a lot of things, including drones. Can you explain to our viewers that in this modern world, a lot is being talked about, the drone warfare. How significant is that, and how India is going about it?
Siddharth, this would be just an understatement to say that drones is the future warfare. The future of warfare is drones, artificial intelligence, robotics. First of all, we do not lose precious human-trained pilots or soldiers. And secondly, drones are cheap. We can buy them off the shelf also. They are commercial drones which can be cheaply modified. Look at the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, which raged between Azerbaijan and Armenia in 2022. Look at the conflict that was carried out. Look at spider web of the operation that just last month Ukraine carried out against Russia. There is complete asymmetry between the conventional power of Ukraine and Russia, but Ukraine, with just $1,000 drones, destroyed 1/3 of Russian air assets at far off air bases, which were even 3,000 to 5,000 kilometers away. So long range, high endurance, high altitude drones. This is the future of warfare. It is a force multiplier. We have seen this in the Israel war on Gaza. We have seen this being deployed, drones being deployed in the Iran versus Israel war, because you see Israel had actually smuggled in drone operators inside Iranian territory, and Iran, of course, in its retaliation carried out drone attacks on Israeli cities. So for David versus Goliath battle, drones are the means to carry out, and they are the force multipliers. And that is why, considering that this is the futuristic warfare combined with artificial intelligence, machine learning, unmanned aerial vehicles and counter unmanned aerial systems are the future, and that is something that India is currently investing in and has been investing in for the past 10 years at least, for the young mind, so that we can have an edge over our adversaries.
Definitely. So, Nanita, in a nutshell, we can say that as far as the modern warfare is concerned, the drones are the new in. And as the new technology is coming in, India is also, raking in that new technology and also building up new drones, to counter any future attacks, if at all. But very well analyzed there, Nandita. Thank you so much.
Shukriya. Thank you so much.
Amid escalating regional tensions and military actions in Iran, the Indian embassy in Iran urged Indian nationals to avoid non-essential travel to the country, citing recent security-related developments. The advisory, posted late evening on the embassy's official handle on X, also asked those already in Iran to remain vigilant and consider returning using available commercial and ferry services. US President Donald Trump said Tehran was hoping to engage in discussions with the United States, but he is in no rush to talk with Iran, referring to US strikes on Iranian nuclear sites last month.
Well, they want to talk. I'm in no rush to talk. They would like to talk. I'm in no rush to talk because we obliterated their site. They'd have to start all over. In fact, it's obliterated to the point that it's not usable anymore. They'd have to pick a different mountain.
Washington and Tehran had been engaged in several rounds of negotiations seeking to strike a deal on Iran's nuclear program. However, the talks derailed due to the 12-day-long conflict between Israel and Iran. Since the end of the hostilities, both Iran and the US have signaled willingness to return to the table, although Tehran has said it will not renounce its right to the peaceful use of nuclear power. US President Donald Trump said that weapons are already being shipped to Ukraine, but he also advised Kyiv that it should not target Moscow. This statement came on Tuesday after the Kremlin charged that a new US plan to supply weapons to Kyiv along with sanctions threats against Russia would delay peace efforts, while Trump on Monday gave Russia 50 days to strike a peace deal with Ukraine, voicing exasperation with Moscow and announcing that NATO members would supply Kyiv with new military aid. He also added that he has not spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin since sanctions were announced.
NATO is going to pay us back for everything. In some cases, we're going to be paid back by countries of the European Union directly.
Are we starting to see those
But we're always getting our money back in full. So we're not going to have any more investment to make. We're getting our money back in full. And if we can make a deal, that'd be great. We're saving 5,000 or 6,000 soldiers a week. They're Russian and they're Ukrainian soldiers. They're not American soldiers. And we won't have boots on the ground. But it's a shame.
Meanwhile, the European Union did not approve new Russia sanctions. It was announced by EU's Foreign Chief Kaja Kallas on Tuesday after a meeting with EU foreign ministers in Brussels. Slovakia has been blocking the EU's latest sanctions package until its concerns are addressed over a separate EU proposal to phase out imports of Russian gas by January 1, 2028. Though EU foreign ministers welcomed US President Donald Trump's announcement to send more weapons to Ukraine. Kallas said that ministers will discuss Russian frozen assets during an informal meeting at the end of August, as member states have very different views on the issue.
We welcome President Trump's announcement to send more weapons to Ukraine, although we would like to see US to share the burden. America and Europe are working together, and if we are working together, this can put the pressure on Putin to negotiate seriously. The only way to get Putin to end this war is to force his hand.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Trump administration says it has launched an investigation into Brazil's unfair trading practices. Flying taxis are coming to Britain sooner than we thought. And French Prime Minister François Bayrou proposes scrapping 2 public holidays.
This week on Defence Dynamics, we decode how mounted gun systems are powering India's artillery transformation. A detailed analysis of Astra, India's homegrown air-to-air missile that's now battle-ready. Prahar unveiled India sharpens its tactical edge. And a deep dive into India's military legacy, what makes it one of the world's most formidable defence forces. Stay tuned this Wednesday, 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News, and I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. US President Donald Trump said that the US would impose a 19% tariff on goods from Indonesia under a new agreement with the Southeast Asian country. Trump said in a post on his Truth Social platform that Indonesian goods entering the United States would face a 19% tariff. This is significantly below the 32% level the president earlier threatened.
So we made a deal with Indonesia. I spoke to their really great president, very popular, very strong, smart, and we made the deal. We have full access to Indonesia, everything. As you know, Indonesia is very strong on copper, but we have full access to everything. We will pay no tariffs. So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. And the other part is they are going to pay 19%, and we are going to pay nothing. I think it's a good deal for both parties. But we will have full access into Indonesia. And we have a couple of those deals that are going to be announced.
Under the deal, which was finalized after Trump spoke with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto, goods that have been transshipped to avoid higher duties will face steeper levies. It also included a penalty rate for so-called transshipments of goods from China via Indonesia and a commitment to buy some US goods. Trump also said Indonesia committed to buying $15 billion in US energy, $4.5 billion in American agricultural products and 50 Boeing jets. However, it remains unclear when the lower tariff level announced Tuesday will take effect for Indonesia. The period over which its various purchases will take place was also not specified. The Indonesian government had yet to make any similar announcements on its end as of Tuesday afternoon. Indonesia said on Wednesday that it had reached a trade deal with the United States after an extraordinary struggle in negotiations. Indonesian president's spokesperson said that this is certainly a progress and cannot be called small success.
This is certainly progress that cannot be called small, nor can it be called a small success. This is an extraordinary struggle by our negotiating team. This is an extraordinary negotiation by our president directly with President Trump. This is a meeting point between our government and the US.
On trade deal with Vietnam, Trump said that a trade agreement with Vietnam was nearly complete. Remaining in his character, Trump said that he could release details of the Vietnam trade agreement, but didn't think it was necessary.
We have a Vietnam deal, and I would say that that deal is being pretty well set. It's pretty well set. Again, that's an opening of their country. They've opened it up. Just so you know, these were closed countries. They were wonderful people, wonderful leaders, very strong, smart leaders.
US President Trump revealed fresh details on planned duties on pharmaceutical imports, announcing that the US would proceed with the tariffs by the end of July. Trump said the duties would start off with a low tariff rate to give companies time to move manufacturing to the US before imposing a very high tariff in a year or so.
The pharmaceuticals will be tariffed probably at the end of the month, and we're going to start off with a low tariff and give the pharmaceutical companies a year or so to build, and then we're going to make it a very high tariff because we got to move them in. Look, there's two ways you do it. You make money, or you have them move here so they don't have to pay the tariff. Those are the two ways. The pharmaceutical companies are moving back to America where they should be.
The Trump administration said it has launched an investigation into Brazil's unfair trading practices. A statement from the US Trade Representative said it will include the Brazilian government's policies related to digital trade and electronic payment services. Unfair preferential tariffs, anti-corruption interference. The investigation seeks to determine whether they are unreasonable or discriminatory and burden or restrict U.S. commerce. Last week, U.S. President Donald Trump urged Brazilian authorities to end their prosecution of the country's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, accusing them of carrying out a witch hunt. Let's now take a look at how much tariff will be levied on what country from August 1st. Steepest tariffs would be levied on Brazil at the rate of 50%, while on the next level stands Laos and Myanmar, with both facing duties of 40% each, and Thailand with 36%. Next comes Canada, Serbia, Bangladesh, all facing 36% tariffs, while Indonesia would be subjected to 19% tariff under a new agreement below the 32% level the president earlier threatened. European Union, Mexico, South Africa, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Algeria, Iraq, Libya and Sri Lanka are facing a 30% tariff rate. %25 tariffs would apply to Japan, South Korea, Tunisia, Malaysia and Kazakhstan. While Brunei and Moldova are subject to 25% of tariff, while lowest rate on goods will apply to the Philippines at 20%. All the countries, many of which have highly export-reliant economies, had previously been subject to the baseline tariff of 10%. And French Prime Minister François Bayrou has unveiled a controversial budget with plans to scrap 2 public holidays and freezing most public spending as part of a €43.8 billion budget squeeze he outlined on Tuesday. Bayrou's plan involves freezing welfare spending and tax brackets in 2026 at 2025 levels, which was immediately criticized by left-wing and far-right politicians. Defense spending, however, will increase. France saw its budget deficit hit 5.8% of gross domestic product last year, nearly double the official EU limit of 3% of GDP.
The burden of debt is becoming a crushing budget allocation. In 2029, if we don't change anything, the part of public spending for the payment of interest for this debt would be €100 billion, meaning by far the highest budget allocation of the state, much higher than the budget allotted for education. With each second that passes, each second, France's debt increased by €5,000. €5,000 of additional debt per second. This is where we are at. And this is why I believe that, as we have been saying since this government took office, we now have the duty to assume our responsibility. I think this is the last stop before the cliff and the crashing down because of debt. We should call it by its name. It's a mortal danger for a country.
For more on what this means for the EU's second biggest economy, we are joined by DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Hi, Chiponda. Tell us about the French government's plan. Chiponda.
Thanks for having me. Well, the French government wants to cut spending by nearly €44 billion, and that plan includes a new tax for the highest earners, keeping pension and welfare payments at 2025 levels, and scrapping 2 public holidays. Now, this is all in a bid to lower France's public deficit. The EU's second biggest economy has one of the highest ratios of government debt to GDP in Europe, and only Greece and Italy have higher levels of debt in the EU. Now, last year, France's government debt was around 113% of its GDP. That is much higher than the level that has been set by the European Union. It requires member states to maintain a maximum debt of 60% of GDP. So this, of course, is a concern for Brussels, but also several rating agencies which lowered France's credit rating last year. Now, France does still have a strong rating, but there is concern about its ability to lower its debt levels. The problem, though, is that there is very little support in France for the centrist government's efforts to do that because of political uncertainty in the country.
Chiponda, how is the political uncertainty affecting the French economy here?
France has a minority government which has to rely on a left-wing alliance or the far right to get anything through in parliament. Now, those two wings, of course, want very different things, so that has led to political deadlock. And now European countries are actually being forced to spend more on defense. But because of its high debt levels, the French government doesn't have much wiggle room to do that. So taking on any new debt could be very costly for France. This month, French sovereign borrowing costs rose to the highest levels since 2011. So the French government's hands are tied. Meanwhile, the German government is unleashing hundreds of billions in government debt for spending on defense and infrastructure over the coming decade. So businesses are more likely to invest in Germany than France, which is tightening its spending. And perhaps that is why the French economy is stuck in stagnation.
All right, thank you, Chiponda Chimbalu. He was joining us from Berlin. So we all think of flying in a taxi when we used to watch any sci-fi movies, still we do. But no longer confined to sci-fi concepts or blockbuster movies, aerial rides may soon become a reality. Flying taxis are coming to Britain sooner than we thought. A UK-based firm plans to roll out a piloted flying taxi by 2028. The aircraft, named VX4, will run on electricity and is expected to operate at a price point similar to popular taxi services. Its parent company, Vertical Aerospace, based in Bristol, is leading the production. Chief Test Pilot Simon Davies praised the strong demand and impressive capabilities of the aircraft. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Convicted murderer Bradley John Murdoch died in palliative care unit of Central Australia's Alice Springs Hospital. Murdoch was found guilty of killing British backpacker Peter Falconio in July 2001 when a 28-year-old was travelling through the outback with his girlfriend in a camper van near Alice Springs, about 1,600 kilometres south of Darwin. Over 300 electric buses have been introduced in Santiago and nearby regions as part of a government effort to upgrade public transportation and cut carbon emissions. This launch is a key step in the broader renewal plan, which seeks to add 1,800 more electric buses to the public transit system between July 2025 and March 2026. A new exhibition in London offers fashion enthusiasts a glimpse into the dazzling and imaginative world of the late Italian designer Gianni Versace, highlighting his vibrant runway creations and celebrity ensembles. Titled The Gianni Versace Retrospective, the show presents over 450 of Versace's designs. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll discuss in depth regarding India's commitment to global security. And devotees from Gurugram have embarked on the Kawar Yatra, carrying an impressive 800 to 1,000 kilograms of golden Shiva Kawar. We'll tell you weather updates from different parts of the world as well.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD in the News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Indian Embassy in Iran issues fresh travel advisory, urges Indian nationals to carefully look at evolving situation before undertaking non-essential travel to Tehran. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan lavishes praise on Made in India drones, says success of Operation Sindoor a testimony of self-reliance in defence. After his 50 days deadline to Russia, Trump says weapons are being sent to Ukraine but warns Kiev should not target Moscow. Trump's tariff impact visible in US as data reveals consumer price index increased 0.3% last month after edging up 0.1% in May. As the world becomes more digital, the way money moves is changing. While this brings many benefits, it also creates new risks. Money can be misused to support terrorism, hide illegal earnings, or fund activities that can harm global peace. To protect the world's financial systems, the Financial Action Task Force works with countries around the globe. India has demonstrated a strong and proactive commitment to global security through its active participation in the Financial Action Task Force. In June-July 2025, FATF released two key reports. First, complex proliferation, financing and sanctions evasion schemes, and second, comprehensive update on terrorist financing risks. These contain the contributions by India reiterating its commitment to global security. India has established comprehensive operational and policy coordination mechanism to detect and prevent proliferation, financing and sanctions evasion. It is recognized by FATF for its substantial effectiveness in this area. When it comes to regional and global cooperation, India actively contributes case studies and intelligence, including insights into state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan and regional threats like the National Development Complex. In the latest FATF reports, India provided a case study on Pakistan's proliferation-linked entities, insight into terrorist use of online platforms with examples of attacks funded through e-commerce and VPNs, analysis on how gaming and social media platforms are exploited for terrorism financing. Integrated national response. Through its National Risk Assessment 2022 and strengthened domestic regulations, India has prioritized closing gaps in its financial system, especially in newer domains like crypto assets, digital payments, and crowdfunding. Global standards advocacy. India actively supports FATF recommendations for tightening controls on social media, gaming platforms, and virtual assets, helping align global standards with emerging threats. All right, joining us on the story is Mr. Alok Bansal. He is Director, India Foundation. Sir, first of all, a very warm welcome, in fact, to the broadcast. Sir, to begin with, I would like to ask you to tell our viewers, in a layman language, what is the significance of FATF?
The Financial Action Task Force prevents terror financing, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And it's formed in 1989. I think we joined FATF in 2010.
Yeah.
And we have numerous acts to prevent that the money gets laundered and goes to terrorist organizations and for funding of terrorist activities. And in fact, we came up with an Prevention of Money Laundering Act in 2002. And in addition, we already have an Unlawful Activities Prevention Act,
Correct.
which it's 1967. So these have been used extensively to prevent any money going through any digital means or electronic means to any terror organizations or for indirectly helping any terrorist act. And I think India's contribution in this field and India's active connivance has been appreciated by FATF reports, which recently also came out against some countries and also had a section on state-funded terrorism, also state funding of terrorism, cross-border terrorism. So that also came up. But India has been a very, very key participant and has abided by all the FATF recommendations. And there has been zero tolerance provisions, despite faster transmission of money through digital firms, UPI, etc. We have ensured that not a penny goes to any terrorist organization or for funding terrorist infrastructure.
Indeed. Mr. Bansal, I would like to ask you, I'll ask you India's commitment to global security. What is it? But before that, in this modern world where technology is playing a pivotal role, being it anything, you take any sector, but the role of technology is immense, especially when it comes to gaming, when it comes to, UPI and all the digital technology I'm talking about. So, this sort of a body is pretty much necessary, to prevent all the illegal activities. How much do you agree on that? And how do you see that? How do you react to that, sir?
See, undoubtedly, as I said, today, the money transfer has become so quick that at the fraction of a second, the money gets transferred from one account to another. While it actually facilitates and eases the communications, but the possibility of its being transferred or routed to third parties or dubious organizations also increases. Now, this has to be checked. And of late, what has happened is that even cryptocurrencies, etc., have come, which have actually further aggravated the threat of their being used to fund terror organizations and terrorist infrastructure, or to indirectly help terrorist activities.
That's right. I second you on this. And we were just talking about India's commitment to global security. This is something, Mr. Bansal, that everyone is talking about. India became the 34th member of the FATF in 2010. You were also mentioning that, and has declared zero tolerance towards terror financing and money laundering. How do you react to this now? Explain it us in brief, sir.
See, because what happens is very often these funds get diverted to organizations which overtly appear to be benign. Some charitable organization, some philanthropic organizations, and from these organizations, money often get diverted to organizations which are working for another purpose. And from those organizations, sometimes you find that money getting routed to another organization. So this is multiple transactions which eventually land up with terrorists, which we have to prevent. And you can realize that there were certain countries in our vicinity which were in the FATF grey list for a very, very long time.
I'll come on to that.
And that has been because their transactions, their systems have not been transparent enough, and they did not have proper instruments to check this sort of diversion of funds from one account to another account and reaching to a third or fourth dubious account.
Indeed. Mr. Bansal, according to you, what distinguishes India's role in implementing FATF standards as compared to other countries? You're also mentioning, I think, the same.
See, what is important is that India has always realized the gravity of terrorism. In fact, we have always been against terrorism. We also realize that no terrorist organization or no terrorist activity can thrive without funds being diverted to it. So we have actually taken an initiative and we have set up an example in this region, at least as far as of transparency of transactions is concerned. The mechanisms have been established by which these funds cannot be transferred or cannot be misused by other entities. The entities which are receiving funds from outside have been scrutinized. There are provisions for receiving funds from external sources. So all these legal framework has been created in such a way that transactions, although they become very fast, remain within the confines of the law. And they do not get diverted to outfits which are quasi-terrorist or which could support other outfits which are indulging in terror. However, now with these crypto and other currencies coming into market, it will become even more difficult to control that. And I think Government of India has taken an initiative to control and monitor these transactions as well.
Indeed. So you were talking about some countries being in the grey list of the FATF. We'll talk about Pakistan here. Pakistan was earlier on the grey list of FATF, and there was a report which came a few weeks ago that FATF might consider putting Pakistan in that grey list again. What does it indicate, first of all, number one, and how much possibility do you see regarding the same?
See, there is no doubt that Pakistan has been a country that's been using terrorism as a state policy. They have been using terrorism to enhance their perceived foreign policy goals.
Yeah.
Whether they eventually help them or not is a debatable point.
And sir,
but they have for a number of years.
Sir, I would like to add here that not just FATF, many other agencies have also recognized this now.
See, this fact has been recognized numerous times, and that's why Pakistan was for a very, very long time in the grey list, because they realized that in this country it was very simple to give funds to Jamaat-ud-Dawa, which was registered as a charitable organization, which could divert funds to Lashkar-e-Toiba, which was its offshoot. So all these sorts of things we saw in Pakistan, outfits being banned and re-emerging the next day under a new name, and accounts being transferred from one previous outfit to the new outfit without the state doing anything. So these were the factors which were clearly visible to the FATF as well as other international agencies, which realized that Pakistan's mechanisms for controlling or checking this sort of transactions was very limited, or even worse, the state was complicit in ensuring that these transactions took place. And as a result, one of the recent FATF report had a full chapter on this state sponsoring of terrorism, or state-sponsored terrorism, non-state actors, cross-border terrorism, etc. So all these things have now come to the light, and the global community is viewing it with real concern. But Pakistan, as you know, has consistently dealt with various organizations which have indulged in terrorist activities, not only in India, but across the globe. And they have always considered such non-state actors as veritable arms of their foreign policy.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining in on the broadcast. India has received its second GE 404 engine from the US for the LCA Mark 1A fighter jet program, marking a crucial step in bolstering indigenous air power. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited will integrate the engine into Tejas jets, with 12 more units expected by March 2026. The Indian Air Force has ordered 83 jets, with 97 more under consideration. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hailed the milestone on social media, underscoring India's growing self-reliance in aerospace. The deliveries had faced delays due to global supply chain disruptions, but are now back on track. A video circulating on social media falsely has claimed that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has admitted loss of 3 Indian Rafale jets to Pakistan. The Press Information Bureau has stated that the claim is from fake accounts and has been digitally manipulated, with doctored audio falsely attributing statements to Dr. S. Jaishankar. It further stated that the original video is from an interview with Newsweek, and at no point did the External Affairs Minister mention any such loss of fighter jets to Pakistan. The Entrepreneurship and Skill Development Center in India's Balapur, Kashmir, has been empowering women in the Kashmir Valley through skill development initiatives. Run under the aegis of Project Sadbhavana, ESDC Balapur has emerged as a vital platform for women's socio-economic upliftment. The center offers a range of courses aimed at skill enhancement and self-reliance, including stitching and tailoring, food processing, knitting, computer and internet training, and driving. Since its establishment, over 520 girls and women have been benefited. The ESDC Balapur stands as a beacon of hope and opportunity, fostering self-confidence, skill proficiency and economic independence among the women of South Kashmir. Over 1.4 lakh new accounts were opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana since 1st of July. According to Department of Financial Services or DFS, more than 5.4 lakh fresh enrollments under the 3 Jan Suraksha schemes have also been recorded during this period. The campaign aims to cover all Gram Panchayats and urban local bodies to ensure that every eligible citizen can access these schemes. The Unique Identification Authority of India, UIDAI, has urged parents and guardians to complete mandatory biometric update for children aged 7 and above. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology said that under the current guidelines, a child below 5 years of age does not have to provide fingerprints or iris scans due to developmental reasons. If the mandatory biometric update is not completed even after 7 years of age, the Aadhaar number may be deactivated as per the existing rules. UIDAI has also started sending SMS messages to the mobile numbers registered in the Aadhaar of such children for completing the mandatory biometric update exercise. Let's take a look at other stories making news. Harmandir Sahib, or the Golden Temple in Amritsar, on Wednesday again received a bomb threat, making it the third in the span of 3 days. The threat was received via email. Strict security arrangements have been put under place and dog squad has been deployed as part of security check. Earlier threats were received on 14th and 15th of July. Border Security Force had conducted a search operation in the Harmandir Sahib complex on Tuesday. Similarly, Delhi schools including St. Thomas School and Vasant Valley School also recently received bomb threats via email, prompting immediate responses from the Delhi Police and Fire Department. Nothing suspicious has been found so far. Earlier, St. Stephen's College at Delhi University also received a bomb threat. Greater flamingos have once again migrated to coastal areas of Tamil Nadu from various parts of Africa, southern Asia and the Middle East and the southern Europe. These birds are drawn to the region's brackish water, in fact, bodies and salt pans, which provide a suitable environment for feeding and breeding. The area offers a rich source of food. Thoothukkudi's salt pans become an ideal feeding ground for flamingos from October to March. Devotees from Gurugram have embarked on the Kawar Yatra, carrying an impressive 800 to 1,000 kilograms golden Shiva kawad adorned with intricate designs crafted in Sonipat. This massive kawad holds around 40 liters of sacred Ganga Jal. Kawar Yatra, which began on July 10, is an annual pilgrimage where devotees collect holy water from river Ganges and carry it to Lord Shiva temples. Now on to some weather updates around the globe. India has recorded above normal rainfall so far this monsoon season, with the India Meteorological Department estimating cumulative precipitation at 109% of the long period average, indicative of average rainfall as of July 14, 2025. This above normal rainfall is expected to continue, with the IMD forecasting 106% of LPA. Average rainfall for the remainder of July. The overall healthy rainfall has significantly boosted agricultural activity. Srinagar, the capital of Jammu and Kashmir, is also experiencing rainy weather on Wednesday. The heavy rains during the monsoon season have affected normal life and property in parts of North Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. According to State Disaster Management Authority, over 100 people have lost their lives in rain-related incidents between June 20 and July 15. The water level of Ganga in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh, is continuously rising, due to which low-lying areas are flooded. Local people are facing a lot of problems due to river water entering their homes. At the same time, it is raining heavily in northeastern state of Assam's Dibrugarh. While the rain in many parts of the city has brought relief to people from the heat, normal life has also been affected. And New Jersey governor has declared a state of emergency after torrential rainfall and flash flooding wreaked havoc across the state. The National Weather Service issued flash flood warnings statewide as multiple regions, including Union County, faced extreme weather impacts. The intense rainfall caused widespread travel disruption across regions, airports, highways and railways.
We had some serious weather that hit us last night. And we had, sadly, 2 fatalities in Plainfield and a car that was swept away. I think Cedar Brook Park, Sean. And I just came from Berkeley Heights in Union County. I'd say Union County and Somerset County had the biggest impact. A whole number of communities, a significant amount of damage, which we're still assessing. The White House has reached out. You have to meet certain bogeys historically in terms of the federal support, and we're assessing that as we speak. We declared a state of emergency last night, which I think was the right call for the entire state, because while the most severe weather was in and around Union and Somerset counties, there was weather up and down the state, as I'm sure you all experienced. And stay tuned. We'll have a better sense of, God willing, there's no more fatalities that we don't know about. We'll have a better sense of the damages over the next 48 hours, and we'll make sure we keep folks posted. But please keep the families of those loved ones in your prayers, of those who lost their lives, as well as folks who may be displaced from homes.
Asian markets reflected a mixed trend on Wednesday, driven by a stronger US dollar following unexpectedly high inflation data. The US dollar indices rose 0.6% overnight, driven by consumer price index data, showing an increase of 0.3% in June, the largest monthly gain since January, signaling the early impact of new tariffs. Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty fell in early trade on Wednesday. However, other Asian markets showed a mixed pattern as South Korea's Kospi, Japan's Nikkei 225 and China's SSE Composite were in the red, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng bucked the trend with modest gains. Large US banks reported results that topped estimates Tuesday as executives pointed to American economic resilience and said businesses were adapting to tariff uncertainty. Executives from JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup described US consumers as still fundamentally in good shape, despite continued risks to the outlook. Both banks now see a low risk of recession compared with April, when they last reported results. Top officials with the banks also characterized clients as less frazzled by President Donald Trump constantly changing trade policy compared with April, when financial markets were in turmoil. In the last week alone, Trump has threatened deep tariffs on some 24 countries and spoken of new levies on copper and pharmaceuticals, announcements that many market watchers remain skeptical will be enacted in light of previous tariff pivots by the US president. You're watching DD India News. Our time now for sport. A confident Indian women's team will clash with England in a 3-match ODI series beginning on Wednesday. The women in blue made history by winning their first ever T20I series against England last week. With the ODI World Cup on the horizon, Harmanpreet Kaur-led India will be keen to fine-tune their 50-over game. India won their last 2 ODI assignments in May. An ODI series win would further boost their preparations for the global showpiece. Meanwhile, England will be bolstered by the return of skipper Nat Skyver-Brunt and world number 1 ODI bowler Sophie Ecclestone, who have recovered from injuries. All right, and DD India correspondent Narayan Singh is joining us now. Hi Narayan, a very good afternoon to you. You know, when we go to the history a little bit back, we can certainly make an assessment of the fact that the Indian team, the women in blue, they're rising like anything, you know, in terms of skills, in terms of they are winning the T20I series against England, writing history, scripting history. For us, please analyze how the Indian cricket, the women's cricket, has come so far, you know, since the time we have seen.
Good afternoon, Siddharth. As you mentioned, that the way our women's team performed in the recent past, especially in the 5-match T20 series against England. They defeated this England team first time on the home soil with the margin of the 3-2. If you take a look, the last match, it was a thriller. India lost that match in the last ball. Otherwise, the scoreline would have been better of the 4-1. But as you mentioned, in this May, in the tri-series against Sri Lanka and South Africa, the way India performed consistently, scoring the runs in the excess of 270. In that series, tri-series, India scored two matches the scores of more than 300, and in the pre-match of this tournament also our captain Harmanpreet Kaur said that their main motive is to consistently touch the 300 run mark and cross the 300 mark in the ODI, because we know that when a team scores more than 300 runs, it gives breathing space to the bowler and the chances of winning the matches increases, we can say, manifold time. So here the team is doing exactly that thing. They defeated England in the T20 series in England, and this year the ODI World Cup will take place in India. In that sense, this series is very important for the team India. India is continuously giving chances to the young players, and we saw the Sri Charni, the player of the match in the T20 series, performed exceptionally well. And also the way Pratika Rawal performed in the recent past, especially in the tri-series, she crossed the 500 run mark and became the fastest Indian to cross 500 run mark in the series. So all in all, we can say that this Indian team is looking to do big in the near future, especially in the ODI World Cup that will take place in India later this year.
All right, Narayan, we leave there. Thank you so much. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.